Hello everyone. So today we're on a practical journey. I am off to the QE in Birmingham, the hospital, to pick up some emergency meds for Megan. And I thought I'd take the bike because, again, much like the airport, I can just rock up right outside. Because parking, anyone that's ever been to the QE in Birmingham, the parking is absolutely horrific. I never know what it is with the hospital thing, because they obviously have a certain amount of beds. This isn't a knock at the NHS, by the way, because they have been absolutely exceptional at every point during Megan's care. It's more just whoever designed the hospital. What I find fascinating is there's obviously a capacity that the hospital can handle. And you'd think you'd design how many parking spaces or drop-off points or taxi ranks, or to sort of to allow for the capacity that you have. Obviously, if you're over full and there's not enough beds and all of that, that's another thing. But it does seem to be that even when there's just a normal amount, so obviously we've spent a lot of time at the cancer hospital area. And you've just got normal appointments. Everybody's arriving for their kind of the chemo or radio or consultations or whatever, and sometimes it can take you an hour and a half to park, which must be really stressful if you're going in on your own. Obviously, I took Megan in every day. So, there were days where she'd have to get out of the car whilst we were going around the car park because I couldn't find a space, and she'd have to go in and wait on her own. But obviously I'm taking her in. There are people who are travelling in on their own, driving in on their own for the treatment. And, you did see sometimes abandoned cars and stuff in the car park. I just don't know why it seemingly... there's not enough spaces to just meet the general capacity. So yeah, that's gripe number one, and that's why I'm going in on the bike, because I can literally park outside the front door, which does feel like a life cheat code, doesn't it? I had a glance out of the window and saw that there was some vague sunlight, so I put my summer gloves on, and it's now slightly spitting with rain and freezing. So I've made a bit of an error there, but I've fired up the heated grips. I've engaged bougie mode, and I've fired up the heated grips, so hopefully that'll warm the fingers. So yeah, I'm about 8 miles, 7 miles, something like that from the hospital. It's not too bad. Again, we were very, very lucky during Megan's treatment that we lived so close to arguably one of the best hospitals for her particular condition in the UK. Because, during her chemo and radio, obviously we got to know some of the other patients that were in at the same day. And, some people are coming from hours away every day. So we ended up having 6 months of chemotherapy, but 6 weeks of chemo and radio every day, and that's where you're in 5 days a week. 5 days a week, every day. And of course for us, it's a 25-minute scoot in. Even that, you think by the time you scoot in, you have your sessions. Her radio was about 50 minutes, her radio session. And then you come back, that's all morning. But if you live 3 hours away, which some people did, there's some people coming from mid-Wales, if I remember rightly. That's 6 weeks, that's every day, all day. Not to mention the expense of whatever the fuel cost for that is, So yeah, that was one of the things that really struck us, was even in the position that she was in, that we were both in, you do find yourself feeling sorry for other people, coming in on their own, or some of the circumstances. There was obviously lots of very young people there, children are suffering, which is just awful. And then the very old coming in on their own, who's, seem maybe a bit lonely. Or you can also run away with it in your head, can't you, and end up writing a narrative. But yeah, it's quite a humbling place to spend every day. 6 weeks, and I'm glad she and we got through that, and hopefully, touch wood, fingers crossed, we don't ever have to go through that again. This used to be an all-you-can-eat Chinese place when I was at school, and used to have, school kids parties in there, and I think they found rat shit in the food or something. I mean, it was called the Emerald, and it was all you can eat for like $8.99. It was then, and yeah, you get what you pay for. It was bloody horrible. Oh, and here's me thinking that with the weather had turned and we were now on the upswing of how lovely it would be. How wrong was I? Oh, the heated grips have properly kicked in now. What temperature is it? It's 5 degrees. Yeah, what a shocker I've had there. Right, is this guy going to pull out, or is he just... No, he's just sat with his indicator on. Lovely. So I live in the south of Birmingham, and I almost come directly north to get into the centre. Obviously the hospital's not quite in the centre, but yeah, I come directly north. So we're coming through a town called Norfield. There's this lovely pub here that will have been an old inn on the way into Birmingham, however long ago. But it's always been a bit of a rough pub, that, if I'm honest with you. It's a shame, because look at it. Can you imagine how much that would be worth, that building, if it was in Hampstead or something in London or Maida Vale? Selly Oak now, which is like Studentville in Birmingham. It's the home of Birmingham University. And it's where the old rehearsal rooms that was such a staple of the sort of Birmingham music scene, at least when, long before I was growing up, and then kind of towards, it was at its tail end when I was coming through, and it's all been demolished now for flats, unfortunately. But Rich Bitch Studios was down there, which saw Black Sabbath rehearsing there and other Birmingham bands back in the day. And the guy who owned it used to keep snakes, so you'd walk in and it'd be like heavy metal music, and it was all dark and just like tanks with big snakes in it next to the reception area. And I always remember that being quite intimidating when I was 14 in my first band. Walking in there, hello mate, I've got a room booked. Yeah, fantastic. I love those old eccentric places. There does seem to be less of them. Everything's a bit more sort of homogenised now, isn't it? But yeah, Rich Bitch was great. Lots of good times in there. Sort of, it was my first opportunity playing in those kind of environments, to play with a loud amp and, the drummer actually hit the drums properly, and all of that, because obviously other than that you were practicing in your bedrooms at home, and that's never you're never able to give a full rock performance. Right, so that building up ahead there, that strange sort of Star Trek-y thing with the 3 rings, is the hospital, so we're nearly there. Very small bike, that. So let's see what we can do parking wise. I'm going to park just where I've seen lots of bikes parked, right out the front of the drop-off area, and they definitely weren't blood bikes or police bikes or paramedic bikes. They were normal bikes, so I'm going to do that and hopefully not be told off by anybody. I'm not going to be in there long. I'm just going to go into the pharmacy to pick up some medication. The hospital's massive, so we're coming in the front way. The cancer hospital that we did all Megan's treatment at is on the other side. It's on the other side of the compound, over there actually. Right, so is this gonna be as simple as I thought? Let's get it in first gear. See the bikes parking over there? Let's do that. I just need to get to it. Oh, hello. There we go. Let's not run anybody over while I'm doing this. Alright, I'm going to put it right in between there. Oh, no, neutral first time. Look at that. Are we good? Yeah, we're good. Right. So, let's take the remote off. Someone could half-inch that. And I'm just gonna, I guess, walk right in. Hospitals are fascinating places. The work that goes on here is incredible. But actually, having spent a lot of time in here with Megan over her care, what really strikes you isn't just the apex workers, the doctors, the first responders, the infrastructure you need, the level of support you need, people delivering flipping clean sheets and gas canisters and medication, and the amount of infrastructural support you need to keep something like this going is absolutely incredible. And whilst sitting in a hospital every day was not how I'd have chosen, or Megan and I would have chosen to spend our time. It's fascinating to just sit and people watch and watch the comings and goings, because yeah, this is also a military hospital, so there's a lot of that going on. Right, the pharmacy is over there, so I'm going to turn the camera off and take my helmet off so I look a little less like a mentalist in this queue, and I will see you back on the bike. Right, mission accomplished. So, meds go in my bag. Well, it's definitely the right way to do is to ride here. I don't think I'm going to be able to get an ill Megan on the on the back here to deliver her to a hospital, but it's definitely, if you're popping in, it's definitely the way to go. Right, let's get this breathing. It's busy in there today. The pharmacy was real busy. They're just rushed off their feet all the time. I can't imagine what it must be like. Right. Oh, back aboard. Let's try and not run over any pedestrians. After you. Right. Let's try also not to back into any pillars. Right. What do we reckon? What do we reckon? Oh, right. It's food time, I think. So that was me riding into the hospital. Mission accomplished. I will take the meds back and deliver them to Megs, and I will see you all on the next video. Thanks for watching.